So even the smallest mistake on your business credit application can get you denied or even get you significantly less money. That's why we're going to be going over everything you need to know to make sure that you get your application approved the first time for the maximum amount of money that you can get for your business. Now, this is going to apply for people with even a brand new business that they just start or just plan on starting soon. It applies if you're a sole proprietor, and it applies if you have been established in business for a while and you're already making money. You just need to grow your business. I worked in banking for one of the top 3 banks in the US. I've taken business credit applications. I've spoken to underwriters about applications, and I've seen everything that goes into it and what they look for. These days, I help business owners get the funding that they need for their business, anywhere from 50,000 on the low end to 200,000 on the high end. So let me walk you through the steps that you need to follow in filling out an application. But if you want help and your credit score is already good, I'm talking around the 700 range, then book a call with me to see how I can help you get funding for your business. But let's dive into that application. So first off, we're going to go to Chase and we're going to look at their business credit cards, and we're going to do the application for them. Because of course, Chase is the biggest bank right now, and they have arguably the #1 business credit card to apply for. So why not start with them? So first off, we're going to go ahead and look at their business credit cards, and that business credit card that I was talking about, that is the best business card that is out there, is this Ink Business Unlimited card. Now, right now they got a $900 bonus cash back if you spend $6,000 in the first 3 months. The great things about it too is that it has 1.5% cash back on everything, and you get 0% APR for 12 months with no annual fee. So if you're going to start with a business credit card, this is probably going to be the one that you want to start with. And I have a video on this channel where I go in more detail about all of the benefits that you get with this card. So make sure you check that out too. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit apply right here. And mind you, if you have any questions that come up with anything that you see on the application, make sure you put those down in the comments so I can try to answer as many of those as I can. The application process I know can be a little bit daunting and confusing for a lot of people. And that's why for my clients, I really try to take a lot of the guesswork out of that for them. But hopefully this will be enough information to help you. Now you can see here, they just give you a little bit of a rundown on some of the aspects of the card there. But now we're going to get into the application. So first thing that they want to know is info on the authorizing officer, that person that is doing this application. So of course, there are different options here that they provide to you. Most of you are going to, put owner, president, or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put owner right here. Now, of course, right here, this is pretty self-explanatory. You just put in your personal information, first name, last name, date of birth, social security number, or I-10. If you do have an I-10 instead of a social, you would put that there. All of this stuff is pretty simple. Your mother's maiden name, this is something that will be used and that Chase does keep up with. So with this application on Chase, you do want to make sure that you're putting the right information in here. And anytime you do an application in the future, you would have to, use that same maiden name there. And just for the sake of a visual, I went ahead and put some information in here, but you can see all of that is pretty simple. Now, this next section is going to ask for your address, your personal address, that is, and they have you select either domestic or military. If it is military, put that. If it's just regular personal address, go ahead and put that. And in here, of course, again, self-explanatory, street address, city, zip code, state. If you have an apartment number, you would put that. So that's all pretty simple. But if your home address is different from the business address, of course, you want to go ahead and put that home address right there. Now, this is still asking for your personal information. So, of course, make sure that you put your personal email here and your personal phone number right there. Now, next, what we're going to get to is the gross annual income. This is asking for your personal gross annual income. So if you already have a job, this would be the income that you have coming in from that job. But here's where a lot of people get this wrong, because they think that they only need to put their personal income in this area. If you read here, you can see that you can add other forms of income that you might have, like alimony, child support, separate maintenance income. To keep things simple, besides those forms of income, if you have a spouse and that spouse has income coming into the household too, you can include all the income that comes into your house. Let's say you have an older son and he works and he's in the house. That's income coming into the household, which is allowed to be put on the application. So really take a look at all of the income that is coming into your household and all of the different forms that it may be coming in. And that is something that can be considered for your annual income on this application. And a lot of times people don't know that. They leave out that income, and the more income that you have coming in that you can report, the more that helps your application. Okay, so now they want to know your legal business structure. This is whether you have a corporation, LLC, nonprofit partnership, sole proprietorship. And as I mentioned, if you have a sole proprietorship, you can, apply still, and you can put that on here. Most of you guys are going to have an LLC filed, so this is what you're going to be putting on there. And some of you guys may also have a corporation. Whichever one you have, that's what you want to put. And of course, it's always going to be better to have that LLC filed to get the corporation filed versus doing a sole proprietorship, even though you can put that on the application, because of course, it helps your business look more legitimate, more credible. And you also get that extra protection from your personal assets, being able to be up for grabs because you have that extra protection of the LLC or the corporation, which provides that veil from your personal assets. So next you want to put your business legal name. So whatever you have actually filed for your actual business legal name. So let's say you have ABC Company LLC, that's going to be your legal business name because that's what you filed as, or it could be corporation, whichever entity type you selected. And I also have a video on entity types, so make sure that you check that out as well. Now, you do have the option of changing the desired business name on a card. You might want to take the LLC part off the card and just go by, the regular company name without the LLC, because of course, that just looks better. And if you just wanted to put your personal name on there, you can do that as well. Or let's say you have a DBA that you use versus this legal business name, then you can also put that there to show up on the card. And the very next question is asking you, do you have a DBA? Because you can, put that on there if you want to, or if you have a DBA, you can put that on here. But if not, you can put no. Now, the next thing they're going to ask is number of employees. Now, when it comes to this part right here, you want to put the number of people that you have working for the company. Of course, you would be one person. And the more employees you have, of course, that makes your business look a little bit more established because you actually have people working for you that you actually have to pay. So that shows that there must be some type of stability there. So of course, the more employees you have, the better your company looks. But don't be that person that just goes and you have, 10 employees coming in and you don't have 10 employees. And let's say you put $5,000 in, revenue coming in and you have 10 employees. That really doesn't make sense unless you have a bunch of VAs or something like that. But those VAs that you might have in the Philippines or something like that, those don't count for employees, nor does contractors that you might pay. Those aren't employees either. This is talking about employees that you have working for your company. So for the sake of this application, I'm going to put 3 employees. Now right here, you're going to put your EIN number. And look, if you're a sole proprietor and you don't have an EIN number, you would put your social security number right there. Another benefit to having your EIN, having your business registered, is that this can report to your business's credit because you have that EIN and that entity set up, which is separate from you as a person. So again, make sure you get your EIN, get your business registered. I have videos covering how to do all of that on the channel, so you have no excuse to not go and get that stuff taken care of, because ultimately it just helps you as a business owner. Now here, it wants to know your primary physical business address. Of course, if you have a brick and mortar location, you want to put that. If you have a virtual address, you want to put that. You do not want your business's address to be a PO box or a UPS box. They do verify addresses, so you don't want it to be something like that. That doesn't come back as legitimate as a actual physical address, especially one that is tied to a business office. Now, some of you guys might use your home address as your business address, and that's totally fine to do that. I've seen people get approved with a home address as a personal address, but the type of business that you do, of course, should allow you to be able to have that, because what you're putting on this application, of course, has to make sense. So if it's the same as your personal address, you will put yes. Of course, it always looks better to have that professional business address on your application. And if your personal address is not, you would select no. You would put, domestic or military if that applies, and then you would put in what that address is. Now, this is where they ask for your business phone number. Now, the business phone number, you want to actually have a business phone number. You don't really want to use your home phone number for more than one reason. Just in business, of course, you don't want your customers calling your personal phone in the middle of the night, early in the morning, on the weekends. But having a separate business phone number helps your business, again, look more legit, more credible. So you want to have that. If you use something like a Google Voice number, that can come back is not valid because they do check those phone numbers to see if they are business related or not. So just make sure to take the extra effort, spend a few bucks. There are several services out there, from RingCentral on the high end, where you can get a business phone number, all the way down to something like TalkRoute, which is like I think maybe, $15, $20 a month and get yourself a real business phone number. Now, again, remember, if you have any questions, put those down in the comments. And if you've been enjoying this video so far, make sure you hit the thumbs up so YouTube can know that this is a good video, and other people that are looking for help with this type of information, they can get the help because it'll be shared to more people. And subscribe to the channel to ensure that you continue to get more helpful information on getting yourself prepared to get funding for your business so you can grow and scale. Now, this is arguably the most confusing part for a lot of people as far as what to put here, especially if you just got your business registered and just got started. Now, some things that you need to understand when it comes to this part to make sure that you are maximizing your potential for approval and funding is, of course, whenever your business was established, when you filed everything, you can put that date right here. Also, some of you guys might be a sole proprietor where you have not had everything filed, but let's say you've been operating in business for, a few years. You can think about the year that you actually started the business, the month and the year, and you can put that information right there because you actually started operating your business on that date. So you can put that here so that you're not leaving valuable amounts of time in business off the table, because the longer you have been in business, the more that helps to show the credibility of your business. Now, the other thing you want to pay attention to here is going to be annual business revenue. Now, if you are a brand new business that just got started and just filed recently, and outside of that, you are allowed to project your annual revenue here. This is something most people are unaware of. And so they usually put 0 here or something like that. But the banks actually allow you to project your revenue in this area. Now, again, don't be that person that's going over here putting a whole lot of money on here that you really can't account for, or putting a whole lot of money on here that is unreasonable. And that would be in terms of like your industry. There are already reports out there to show how much money a person makes within a certain industry on average, depending on, the state, the county, the city that you're in. And also there are banks out there that do no doc lending, meaning you don't have to show proof of income for anything. But once you start getting into certain dollar amounts, like, say past 450 in a year, something like that, a lot of times they'll start asking for proof of that documentation. So if you can't justify that, then that's of course something that you don't want to do. If you're already making money and you can show, your proof of that via bank statements, tax returns, then go ahead, throw that in there. Let's take a look at, average incomes for a self-employed plumber just to see how much they make, just as an example. So we can see here the average self-employed plumber salary by state. And this is on ZipRecruiter.com. And I did a Google search, which led me to this. Now we can see here annual salary, $69,000, $68,000, $63,000. It says over here that on the low end, it's almost $30,000. The national average is $63,000. And on the high end, it's about $100,000 a year. So looking at this, you can kind of get an idea of what a plumber's revenue might be. And let's say you own the plumbing business and you have employed those 3 plumbers. Well, that means that you would be paying them about a 63 annually, which means you would have to be generating at least 190,000 just to pay their salary. So if you already have your 3 plumbers lined up, which is likely including you and 2 other plumbers, you know that you can project about 190 at least in revenue. Or let's take into account the average annual revenue for a laundromat business. It says that in the United States, it's around 150,000. Let's take a look at the annual revenue for a real estate investor business. We see here that it shows that the average annual income can range from 300 to per property. So let's say you plan on getting 2 or 3 properties in a year. That's already 240 to 360 in a year. So, this is just giving you an idea of, based off what you do, some reasonable projections that you can make. Now, jumping back into the application, this number is also going to be very important, the estimated monthly spend. Now, what they're looking at here is this business actually going to be spending money on a monthly basis? And of course, you have to take into account, if my business is only making $10,000 in a month, I'm probably not going to be spending $20,000 in a month. So again, the number that you put here needs to make sense. But what you need to do is take a look at really all of your expenses. How much are you going to be paying your employees every month? How much are you going to be spending on ads? Because you want to advertise your business. Nobody knows you exist. Nobody can find your business and give you money. So how much do you want to spend in ads? Do you want to hire a company to do ads for you so that you don't have to do the ads? Because that can cost extra money. How much is it going to be for the building that you might need? How much are you going to need to spend on inventory each month to make sure that you have enough product to hit the monthly goals that you want to project? If you're a trucker, how much money are you going to be spending on gas, on maintenance on a regular basis for your truck? You need to really be taking these things into consideration, and it's always better to overestimate how much you think you're going to spend versus putting less and then needing more later. Because if you put something like, you're going to spend, 2,000, 3,000 a month, they're using this number to determine how much you're going to spend. So they're not going to give you higher amounts if they see that you're only going to be spending a little bit of money, because they want you to use the card, of course. But if you don't really need that much, they're not going to give you that much. So make sure you're really analyzing all of the costs that you might have to pay so that you can get the money that's going to cover that much and even cover the unexpected things that you might not have thought of. Now, this is also super important. Business classification. This is going to be tied to whatever your NAICS code is for your business or your SIC code. When you're doing different banks applications, they're going to ask for a different one. Most of them are going to use the NAICS code, and this can determine if you get denied, if you get approved, if you only get a little bit versus more. So this is very important that you make sure that your business is classified properly. For instance, I had somebody as a client who ended up using a code that listed them more as like a real estate professional. And whenever the banks see something in real estate, it can really hinder your application by a lot because that's more risky. But in looking at what that client was actually doing in business, they were doing more consulting of real estate professionals. So they really didn't list themselves as what they really were and what they did in their function of business. So of course we were able to identify a better code for them. In the way Chase's application works, they want you to kind of type in the description. In some instances, you might get the ability to just type in the actual code depending on what bank you're applying with. And as you can see here with the Chase thing, after you type in what it is that you think you are, it's going to come up with some predetermined codes that are closely matching what you put in there. And you can see here they have offices of real estate agents, leasers of residential buildings and dwellings, and other activities related to real estate. But they also give you the option to choose your own. And if you choose your own because they didn't have what you really needed, you can still go down in here and you can select what they have options for. But making sure that you get this right with what is within the scope of what you really do can make or break your whole application. And then next we have percentage of ownership. Ideally, you have 100% ownership and it's just you and you're the person with the good credit, and then you can apply here and put the 100%. But of course, if not, if it's more than one of you guys that own the business, this is going to depend on, if you have 25% ownership, if you have 75%, if you have 50-50 ownership. This is something that's just kind of scenario based. And of course, we help clients make sure they're putting the right thing on the application. But you have to look at what your structure is, how your partnership is set, and just know that if it's more than one owner, in some instances, both of you guys might have to get your credit ran, which can also affect how things go with the application. Now, beyond that, it's just merely if you want to get an employee card, you would add that employee card here. Select if you want paperless statements or not. You can look at the details of the card, interest rate, fees, things like that. And then you would, of course, check I have read and agreed, and then submit the application. And then boom, you have to wait and see how everything comes back. But you're still not done. So now you have to wait and see if you're approved, if you're denied, or if you're approved for lesser than you really wanted to get. That's why I'm going to show you what to do if you get a low limit or if you get denied in this next video. Alternatively, if you want to know some of the best banks to apply with that don't require documentation for proof of income, check out this video. And I'll see you in the next one.